And Sana Janjua is a poet who will be reading 3 poems for us.
Yeah, to speak, if I could, given my poverty of knowledge on the subject that we have at hand, I was invited by Sansa to share poetry, and I'm very thankful to Dr. Chinmoy Banerjee for thinking of me to share the stage with such brave individuals and discussing Edward Said, whom I admire so much. But before we get there, I would like to articulate just how I feel about the word itself, the word privilege. I work in the field of mental health as a psych nurse in acute inpatient psychiatry, to be precise. And that becomes my connection to the world of people whose stories I hear on a daily basis, document on and care for largely, but also those whom I have with my concerns to be safe, injured, and perhaps even re-traumatized with the penalizing practice of involuntarily administering chemicals, restraints, and seclusion. In 2016, when I first began working, and today I'll admit this, I wasn't prepared to meet the challenges that I had to witness through caring for the community of the indigenous peoples and the refugees, with the latter being one of the larger group of people in one of the most acute units in my hospital. It was a time when the refugee resettlement programs were in place. I was trained, so to speak, to be trauma-informed, and I could, on the topic, exercise my grip of expertise. At my fingertips were the names of the different kinds of trauma, and I could classify, arrange, and explain all of these as a student, and very brilliantly. And then the real world exploded. A novice in the field being asked, by way of a metaphor, to put my patient's shoes on. In this case, my clients who had experienced the most brutal effects of the nexus of capitalism, imperialism, and its host arms and chapters doing its dirty job, making us revisit our ground-up analysis every time an alliance shifted, a regime ended, and more people got displaced. The operational definition of empathy in my field is conceptualized as a stance to put on your client's shoes, and I couldn't get past the error in this definition at once you begin to notice how privilege manifests, the having of shoes. I began to notice pictures of Palestinian children in camps, Rohingya children, Yemeni children, Syrian children, Kashmiri children, Samar Hassan, whose parents were killed by the American soldiers in Mosul, Iraq, for instance. How prepared was she on the day her life changed forever to have put on a pair of shoes that best fits the story that the world saw on TV, and did that make any impact? Aylan Kurdi had his shoes on. But let me not conjure up some monolithic imagery that shifts the experience of witnessing and fleeing war into some trite category of have-nots. For this is precisely my point. There is no flattening of the experiences I documented on in those days, and the stories of violence were unlike anything I was prepared to care for. The clinical histories of my patients ushered me into knowing that the usefulness of any learned Western therapeutic modality had little impact, that seclusions and tying up people and disrobing them was the last intervention that could possibly yield positive health outcomes. Here is the challenge, figuratively. If empathy is made possible through the donning of a garment, a pair of shoes, something we may put on to understand the war victims' stories better, to feel their pain, then we as the privileged practitioners of psychiatry or audiences may choose to selectively put on the ones that we like. There'd be days you may not like certain shoes. There'd be days when there are no shoes, but most importantly, there have been days where there are shoes that you just don't fit in, even if you tried. The poems that I share today are by Faz Ahmed Faz, who is a Marxist poet from Pakistan, and Mahmoud Darwish, of course. To me, these poems appear to be in a conversation from Beirut to Lahore, an exchange of resistance. I'll move from one poem to another and seamlessly, so there are not 3 poems, but many poems, and seamlessly we may find through these stanzas, these lines, the poets, we may find that through these stanzas, the poets were able to find a common idiom, an idiom of empathy perhaps, as a form of confluence that trickles across the checkpoints, prison cells, militarized borders, stadiums turned into torture camps, hoisted all around the world in places where people build resistance movements, always in need of poetry. Empathy could largely be then a sense of intuition, but when it is a skill, it is under the tutelage of Faz and Darwish that I seek my understanding from. This really is perhaps then my journey to be a part of this idiom of resistance, and I would invite all of you beautiful people to be a part of it. Faz. The translations would come. Chashme nam जाने शोरीदा काफ़ी नहीं, तोहमते इश्क पोशीदा काफ़ी नहीं, आज बाज़ार में पाबजौलां चलो, दस्तफशां चलो, मस्तो रक्सां चलो, खाक बरसर चलो, खूं बदामां चलो, राह तकता है सब शहरे जाना चलो. Darwish. We have on this earth what makes life worth living. April's hesitation, the aroma of bread at dawn, a woman's view of men, the works of Aeschylus, the beginning of love, grass on a stone, mothers living on a flute sigh, and the invader's fear of memories. Faz. Beirut, written in June 1982 in the throes of Israeli invasion, when Faz had to flee the dictatorship in Pakistan and was in exile. The translation is by Vijay Prashad. Beirut, nigare basme jahan. Beirut, ornament of our world. Beirut, exquisite as the gardens of paradise. Those shattered mirrors once were the smiling eyes of your children. Now these are starlit. The city nights are bright and luminous is Lebanon. Beirut, ornament of our world, faces decorated with world dazzling, dazzling, dazzling. Their elegant splendor lights up the city's lanes, and radiant is Lebanon. Every warrior brings envy to Alexander. Every daughter is like Layla. This city stands at times creation. This city stands at times end. Beirut, the heart of Lebanon. Beirut, nigare bazme jahan. Badile baghe jina. Darwish. Cities are smells. Haifa is the smell of pine and wrinkled sheets. Beirut is a smell of sun, sea, smoke, and lemons. A city that cannot be known by its smell is unreliable. Exiles have a shared smell, the smell of longing for something else, a smell that resembles another smell. A panting, nostalgic smell that guides you like a worn tourist map to the smell of the original place. A smell is a memory, a smell is a setting sun. What is lost grows in you. And in this sunset, which grants what is distant, the attributes of paradise, and purges it of any defect. In this sunset, words alone are qualified to restore what was broken in time and place, and to name gods that paid no attention to you and waged their wars with primitive weapons. Words are a homeland. Faz. एक तराना फ़लस्तीन के लिए, a song for Palestine. हम जीतेंगे हक्का, हम एक दिन जीतेंगे, बिलाखिर एक दिन जीतेंगे. We shall win, without a doubt we shall win. In the end, we shall win. तेरे आदा ने किया एक फ़लस्तीन बर्बाद, मेरे ज़ख्मों ने किए कितने फ़लस्तीन आबाद. Your opponents destroyed one Palestine, my wounds have birthed multiples of Palestine. दस्तफशां चलो, मस्तो रक्सां चलो, खाक बरसर चलो, खून बदामा चलो, राह तकता है सब शहरे जाना चलो. Let us go with palms exposed, with a song and a dance, with dirt in our hair, with blood on our chest. Let us go while this entire city of lovers watches. With feet in chains, let us go in public today. And this is the last one by Dervish. We have on this earth what makes life worth living. On this earth, the Lady of Earth, mother of all beginnings and ends, she was called Palestine. Her name later became Palestine. My lady, because you are my lady, I too deserve life. Thank you.